For 43 years, Gainesville, Florida has welcomed fans of NHRA's Lucas Oil Series for a spring break treat like no other. Abundant sunshine, big car counts have given us many memorable moments at the Gator Nationals. It is time to go green. All eyes are on Gainesville. Everybody, and welcome to the Gators. Alongside of Alan Reinhardt, I'm Dave Reeve. Don't adjust your screen. He's tall, I'm short, but we're all having a good time here in Gainesville. And I know, Alan, when we start talking about funny cars, this is a big event because it's the East Coast opener, which means Frank Manzo finally gets to come out and play.
First time, of course. Last time we were out in California. Now we're on the opposite coast. And I just want to point out for the record that he used to be tall until he's had to carry me through all these shows, and I've shrunk him down just a little bit. Manzo, though, in qualifying was not spectacular this weekend.
He was not spectacular at all. And you mentioned that John Lombardo, that won our season opener, that had the best runs in the category from a year ago, is out here this weekend. Do we have a new rivalry, perhaps? In 243 first-round races, this is only the 14th time Frank Manzo did not have lane choice in round number one. Didn't matter, the ace wins.
Chris and Kevin Houle sat out the last qualifying session and got shuffled into a first-round matchup with Manzo. Had they known, of course they would have run just to try to get away from the ace. At least I would have.
John Lombardo was one of 5 top 10 players here. He was the #1 qualifier here, and he's running on mean, taking on Dwayne Beers. Lombardo screams down the racetrack, goes 550.
Lombardo, who's won his last 2 national events. Remember, he won when we were out in Pomona. He also won the Auto Club Finals. Watch again. Kaboom for Beers. They heard it in qualifying, just made it in on the bump spot with an 8-second run. That was round number 1, an expensive weekend that ends with an early exit here in Gainesville.
And look at the pieces and parts falling off that machine. Here's Todd Venny, the East Region champ from a year ago, taking on Ray Drew.
How close do these races get in alcohol funny car? That close. You think you could pick that one out without electronics? Add up the math. How about a couple of thousandths of a second at the finish line stripe?
And that brings us to Paul Noakes and Mickey Farrow. Mickey has 8 total wins. 3 of them have come here at Gainesville, including the last 2 years, but he ain't going to do it again this year.
Mickey struggled all through qualifying, actually started in the bottom half of the field. Noakes, the Canadian car, had lane choice, solid run in the first round, and hey, he's moving on to Sunday.
And then how about John Bojek and Dan Pomponio?
The 8 and 9 qualifiers, the 2 closest matched cars. Bojek picks up big time, but he was late letting the clutch out, and Pomponio beats him on a hole shot. Look at the math. A 563 takes out a 559. That'll get you talking to yourself until your next event.
Margin of victory at the finish line, that much, as we now look forward to round number 2. And what do we know? We know that John Lombardo will have lane choice over Dan Pomponio, as will Frank Manzo, who could be on a collision course in the semifinals.
Let's take a look at the other side, though. The interesting matchup up on top. John Headley, 15 qualifier, got around Chris Foster in the opening round. And, of course, Paul Noakes got out Mickey Farrow. One of those 2 is going to the semis.
Sunday afternoon time for round number 2 with a giant crowd looking on. We're going to kick it off with Paul Noakes and John Headley going head-to-head.
Interesting stat about these 2 cars. How about 9 round wins total between them? Somebody's going to have a career day. And don't forget, Headley coming in the number 15 qualifying spot. He got a little bit of a break with number 2 qualifier. Chris Foster had big-time problems in round 1.
Let's check in for the first time today with the stat guy, Louis Bloom.
Talked to Paul Noakes this morning. He said this is the 29th year he's been coming to Gainesville Raceway, but check out this stat, the first time he's ever raced here. And he also wanted to give a shout out to his school kids. He won't be teaching auto shop on Monday up in Canada.
Certainly not if he goes deep today.
Let me tell you, if he brings the trophy back to auto shop, I think they'll forgive him for that. Both of them a little out of the groove.
Hopping all over the place, but it's going to be Paul Noakes that hits the stripe first. He goes 575 at 256 miles an hour. Slows a bit after his round 1 win, but gets the win light. That's all that's important here.
Watch it again in slow motion. The Mustang right up there, now out of the groove, and then it starts porpoising through the middle there. You notice, though, the butterflies never wavered. He kept his foot down and just kept driving it.
And that takes us back to the starting line now for our second pair here in round number 2. It's Todd Venny and it's Andy Bull, a couple of guys that like to hang out. They're good friends.
Well, the Division III runners, of course, they run together on the Lucas Oil Drag Racing Series, the regional trail, the divisional trail, that Follow a Dream car. We've told the story before. The car owner, Jay Blake, was blinded in an industrial accident. Got the white cane right off to the side, but he always dreamed of racing funny cars. He's a very motivated guy, does motivational speaking, and, well, he's still following his dream.
You know what? He may not be able to see, but he hears everything that goes on and knows what's happening.
Very involved with the team. Andy Bull, he and his buddies got together and decided to pool their resources. They're really just a bunch of guys with regular jobs that wanted to go racing. They don't have a huge budget. They don't have a lot of spare parts, but they do have a national event trophy already between the team. They race very smart. That's a tough out because he's not going to give you anything.
And if you notice the name Vinny, Todd's dad, Ken Vinny, tuned for Mike Dunn, tuned for a lot of other people, also drove. In fact, he got his last win here, the Gator Nationals, back in 1985 when he beat Vern Motes.
Todd Vinny is such a historian. There's Jay Blake, the car owner. He's intently listening, paying attention to what's going on with his car, even though he can't see it.
Friends, but Andy Bull is 1-0 against Todd. I guarantee you Todd knows that.
Wow, Andy's car front end up. Oh, it
wow. Todd got away first, got to the stripe first, goes 560 with a 3, the best run of his weekend. But man, there was some craziness going on over there in the right lane.
Watch Andy Bull's car. There it rattles, front end up, comes over. He's going to pedal it. Wow. Blew the blower off of it. Now there's a safety system on all these cars. It's called the Leahy device. If they backfire, shuts off the fuel, shuts off the ignition, throws the parachutes out. Todd Vinny, best run of the weekend for that team. That team has really struggled. We haven't seen the numbers we expected, but you give them too many chances, they'll get it.
Well, still 2 more pair of Top Alcohol funny cars. Then we'll turn our attention to Top Alcohol dragster. Dale Brand, Frank Manzo have completed their burnouts, and as they back up, we go to the far end and John Kernan.
With Paul Noakes, auto shop teacher, not going to make the class on Monday, but you ran a 475/8 there with a whole lot of shaking going on. What's that ride like?
It was all over the place there. I think at the starting line, it took a little extra time there, and the clutch, I think, got hot. When it started to lock up, I mean, it knocked the tires off, shook me all over the place. Thanks to the Meritor guys. I've got Meritor Motorsports, Euclid, Harmon Heavy Vehicle Specialists, and all the kids back at Saunders Secondary School, and we're going to our next round.
Look at that smile. It tells it all.
I don't know about a 475, a 575, but when you say 475, that's your cue for Frank Manzo to come to the line. He can go low, maybe not that low.
Try this on for size. I'm always trying to sneak one past the stat guy. These two have never raced before. Frank Manzo will be the 8th different driver that Dale Brand has ever lined up next to. Oh, no. Dale Brand is the 214th driver Frank Manzo has raced.
All right, stat guy, you're up.
Alan, mad respect on that stat, because I know where you get it from. It's hard to count. By the way, that beautiful Monte Carlo funny car, as of tomorrow, is out of here. It's going to Sweden. They're going to take the motor out, the drivetrain. He's got a new Murph car. You'll see it at the next race we have at Charlotte.
Manzo really struggled in qualifying, but he did look like he had it back together round 1. Or not.
How about this? You just witnessed the 5th round win ever for Dale Brand. He just took down Frank Manzo, who has 564. We call that an upset. Wow.
Frank Manzo really struggled through qualifying. Started in the bottom half of the field, which almost never happened. That 552 in the first round looked like they had it back on track, but not today.
Go back to the starting line. Manzo had 300s out the gate, but then started to get into some of that vicious tire shake.
It spun him hard, then it rattled. You saw it pick the front end up. Manzo, the veteran, doing everything he can to get it down the track. But meanwhile, Dale Brand, nice, conservative, smooth run. And hey, undefeated against Frank Manzo. How many people can say that?
We've said it for a million years. You got to go A to B against Frank Manzo. Let him make the mistake. Manzo did. Manzo's done. The goal setter car moves on by that much.
Well, they're going to have to change their goals. One was beat Frank. Now you're in the semis. Maybe they can make the first final. Frank was out in front at 60 feet, but for the last 1,260, it was all Dale Brand.
How about that? The ace is done. Well, here comes the #1 qualifier, the man we set you up with at the top of the show that could be a threat to Frank Manzo in the championship this year. His name, John Lombardo. The driver of the back in black car, that's Dan Pomponio. And the guy at the far end of the racetrack, he's John Kernan.
With Todd Vinny, and I'll get it right this time. Not a 4, but a 560 with the 3. How was that?
Felt good. It's the best run we've made all weekend, and it's a nerve-wracking run. Andy's one of my best friends in the world. I have as much respect for him as anyone in the sport because he tunes it, he drives it, he's done it all himself, he's figured all this, and he just worked on my wife's van a couple weeks ago and did about $1,200 worth of work for $178. I was sleeping on his couch, and it was, I don't like to run him. I don't like to run Ray Drew either. They're friends, but, you know, I don't want to, I hate to see him lose, but I damn sure don't want to lose to him. For us, this weekend, it's our first national event without Tom Dobruck, the person who got us a Permatex deal, a guy who means a lot to our team, and that was for him, and this whole year's for him.
We'll see you in the semis.
That black car, Dan Pomponio. Don't forget, the regional event here about a month ago, he left with a trophy. They give a smaller size Wally at those regional events. He'd love to get the big brother here from the Gator Nationals.
And I know another guy who'd like to see John Lombardo go out. He was the guy that was just knocked out, Frank Manzo. Lombardo's got a car that runs on mean too this year.
Don't forget, Lombardo won our last show out in Pomona.
How about this? Lightning has struck twice at the Gators. Dan Pomponio is through to the semifinals. The #1 qualifier out of here. Wow.
5.60 the winning time, and watch Lombardo. His car just absolutely smoked the tires. Did basically what Manzo did, only maybe even worse. So the #1 qualifier gone. The #2 qualifier lost yesterday. The #3 qualifiers sitting on the sidelines, and I like our chances of maybe having a first-time winner here at the Gator Nationals.
Yep, guaranteed to have a first-time national event winner as we take a look at how it sets up in the semifinals. As Dale Brand will get the lane choice over Dan Pomponio on this side. Over on the other, it's going to be Todd Vinny with that 5.603 second elapsed time, picking his over Paul Noakes. Top Alcohol Dragsters are about ready to fire here in Gainesville. Come on back. Welcome back to the Amalie Oil NHRA Gator Nationals, our Lucas Oil Drag Racing Series stop, race 2 of 16. Alongside of Alan Reinhardt, I'm Dave Reef. John Kernan's down at the far end. This is how the semifinals stack up in Top Alcohol Funny Cars. Dan Pomponio of 9-hole will give up lane choice to Dale Brand. That's the first matchup. It's on the racetrack right now. Then it's going to be Todd Vinny picking his lane over Paul Noakes.
And we'll forgive you if you're looking at that ladder and thinking to yourself, who are these guys?
Especially when Manzo and Lombardo were on there to start the weekend.
Well, they're both spectators right now. Our final 4, none of which has a national event win to their credit. So some of these guys in uncharted waters, but somebody is obviously going to leave here very excited. It doesn't matter who you talk to. Frank Manzo and John Force, they remember their first win.
Stat guy.
When you talk about those drivers, all 4 have yet to win. How about we'll have our 92nd winner in the history of Top Alcohol Funny Car, Chris Foster, our most recent winner. Here's a stat I love. We'll have our 15th different winner, 15th different winner here at the Gator Nationals.
That's a good clean stall. Smoke out of the gold center. And check it out. Dan Pomponio. Wow, did Brand actually got over up against the wall.
He might have bigger issues going on. Pomponio takes the win, but we'll go back and try to figure out what happened.
Pomponio did win here at Gainesville at the regional event just about a month ago. Now let's watch from the far end. All that smoke coming out of the goal center. He's still on the throttle and got to be putting some oil under the tires. You know what happened, Dave? I bet that thing's just got so much smoke inside he couldn't see out of it.
Well, when you rub up against that wall, you know when to pull off then. Starts to give it up here on the left side.
Dale Brand, you see the smoke coming out of the left side. He's still on the throttle, even though that motor's letting go. You know, trying to make your way to the first final, you just can't give up.
Not to be lost in that matchup, Dan Pomponio did make a big-time career move. His best run ever, 5:55.4. The Lucas Oil Drag Racing Series continues from the Strip at Las Vegas Motor Speedway, and we invite you to join our coverage Sunday, April the 14th at 11 a.m. Eastern. Right now, it's about wrapping up the semifinals here in Top Alcohol Funny Car. See if Todd Vinny or Paul Noakes are going to get an opportunity to race for the win today.
We know that Dan Pomponio means business. You mentioned that career best number on the other side. You're going to need better than a 5:55 if you want to pick your lane in that final round out of this pair. But Dave, I've been watching these cars all day long. I haven't seen anything that would lead me to believe lane choice is a huge deal. I mean, is it nice? Yeah. Is it critical? Not at Gainesville.
Well, especially when you got a cloud cover that's falling over this racetrack right now. It helps keep the sun off of it, and it really is kind of a great equalizer. Gives everybody a fair chance. One lane's a little greasier than the other. Sun's not beating down on it.
It sure is nice to have if you can get it, but I don't think it's a big deal. The older style Mustang body right there. Paul Noakes, we talked about it earlier. He's going to go back and start teaching shop class in high school again next week. And, of course, Todd Venny. He's been coming to this sport basically since he was in diapers with his dad. Red light start. Oh, Paul Noakes gives it away. Oh, and Todd Venny blows it up. That thing went off huge. 575 is going to be the official math. 212 miles an hour. Noakes coasts across in the 11-second zone after going red by 12 thousandths of a second. But watch that Permatex car. Pow!
That's fire. Guarantee Todd Venny saw that because it was right in his face.
All of a sudden, the question may become, can they fix that car? Absolutely.
Here are pieces and parts falling off of that car all over. Here's John.
Dan Pomponio won here at Divisional at Gainesville 4 weeks ago, and you're moving on right now, Dan.
Yes, we are. We're doing great this weekend. I'm loving Gainesville. Like you said, we won 4 weeks ago. We're going to try to do it again. I want to say special thanks to my wife, my son, my brother, my nephew, everybody who has helped out. My son-in-law, my daughter, my 2 grandkids are here. It's been a great event. The car is running excellent right now. That was a career best for us. I can't say anything else. It is great.
We'll see you.
Thank you very much.
So the funny car final round matchup features that man right there who'll pick his lane over Todd Venny.
Heard one of the crewmen say, we've got work to do. Let me tell you, Todd Venny's guys have got a lot of work to do. And one of the great things about racing in the alcohol ranks on the Lucas Series, I guarantee you, if they need help, every other team in the pits will be over there trying to help him. They want to put on a race for the fans.
Yeah, with Todd Venny. And Todd, tell us what that was like, and do you guys have enough time to get ready for the finals?
You know, I don't know. Probably. You know, I've never had a good race. Something weird seems to happen every time. Did again that time. Felt like it was running all right. Kind of skating around. I got towards the center lines. Car likes to go to the right a lot. And coming back in the middle and right around start of high gear, boom. So that's happened a few times to us in that lane at this track. I don't know why, but hopefully we can get it back together and win the final round.
It'll be great to see Todd get a national and then win.
Remember, his opponent doesn't have one either.
Well, just a little bit ago, we saw Todd Venny beat Paul Noakes and had a lot of damage.
Check it out.
Alan, what are we looking at?
Right here. It pushed a head gasket out, and then the inferno inside the cylinder literally melted the aluminum at the head and the block. When that happens, you got to change motors. A little help from their friends.
Here's the new power plant going back in. Bet he makes it.
Remember the Andy Bowl connection? Andy's guys are over there helping him get ready.
And when we come back, we're going to have the alcohol finals, but we're going to go dragster first. That's because Todd Venny is just getting suited up. In fact, all they got to do is put the top on that race car, drag it to the starting line. We'll have the alcohol funny car finals too. Come on back to the Emily Oil Gator Nationals. Todd Venny is on his way in the Follow a Dream Permatex car.
As you saw in the pits, he's already strapped in. He's already suited up. All they've got to do is pull up, plug in the starter, and go. While we wait for that, we've got the Super Comp final. Greg Camplain, and that's Mia Tedesco. She just got beaten super gas. Let's see if she can at least get the split. 2 finals, 1 trophy, maybe? Oh, not today. 891 for Greg Camplain on the 8.90 index. Mia goes 8.903. 2 finals, 2 runner-ups. That's a great day for any racer, but she's still going to be way disappointed. One guy who's not disappointed is standing by with John Kernan.
Yeah, and Rich McPhillips' crew just arrived. He has the Wally hugging him.
And happy St. Patrick's Day. Todd Venny is here. The cars have been fired, and we will indeed have a top alcohol funny car final. As Dan Pomponio will hit the water box first. Mark Lyle, the NHRA official starter, keeps an eye and makes sure everybody's fitting into that time window.
A tip of the cap to the NHRA, though. They gave him every possible minute, shuffled the run order so Vinny could have a couple extra minutes, kept the lane open coming through the staging lanes to get up there. They wanted to give him every opportunity. A, obviously it's important to Todd. He's never won a national event. And B, want to put on a show for the fans. You hate to hang out all day and not see a race in the final. Definitely guaranteed to have a first-time winner here. Neither driver has won a national event, Stat Guy.
Well, this is one of my favorite stats of all time. Todd is looking to become the second stat guy to win a national event because Bob Unkefer won stock at Houston back in 2008. He used to do this job, and so has Todd Vinny in the past.
And Todd Vinny got an assist from top field driver Sean Langdon, making his way from his pit after they did all of the repairs. Sean was on his scooter leading the way, honking the horn on the scooter, telling everybody to get out of the way, that Todd needed to go and he needed to get up there to race. And so Sean Langdon helping out Todd Vinny.
Now, I'm not sure if I misinterpreted that, but if Todd Vinny won, then this is the only stat guy that has never won a national event?
Oh, a lot of pressure there, Lewis.
May have to put him in a car one of these days. Well, they've been following the dream this long. Can the dream hold out? If the alarm clock doesn't go off for another 6 or 7 seconds, Todd Vinny may finally realize his biggest dream, and that's winning his own national event to join his father. It may happen sometime, but it won't be today. Dan Pomponio,
black.
5.60, 259. And hey, congratulations to those guys. And again, from the good sportsmen, they weren't pressing the issue. They're giving Todd all the time he could get. We'll watch it from the far end of the racetrack. Vinny gets out of the groove, front end up, and at that point, I can only imagine the disappointment.
Realizes that there's no point in keeping going that direction. You'll mow the blocks and give it up right there. Dan Pomponio gets his first national event win.
Down here at the far end with a very happy Dan Pomponio. Congratulations. How does that feel to get that win here?
It feels great. It's our first national event win. The car performed outstanding. Todd, I'm glad we could wait for him and he made it. I would have hated to have done it solo. It was the best feel when Todd showed up. But I want to thank my family, all the guys back at Precision Automation where I work, all my sponsors who help us out. It's just been a great weekend. Car was flawless. Parts worked great, everything.
Well, you heard him mention Todd. After Todd came in, he went over and gave Todd a big hug.
All right.
Oh, what a weekend it's been here as the Gators come to a close. For Alan Reinhart, Sean Kernan, the stat guy, our entire ESPN2 crew. I'm Dave Reeve. Thanks for joining us today. The Lucas Oil Drag Racing Series roars on next from the Strip at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Until then, so long from Gainesville, Florida.
Yeah.